If you're watching this video, you're probably already raiding on Earth 2. If you don't know how to raid, check out the raiding masterclass on my channel or on the E2 website. But in this episode, we're going to cover some of the strategies and aspects on how to refine your raiding. Now, this is especially prevalent at the moment because a lot of players are returning to the platform with the release of Essence on Uniswap and it having an external value. So raiding has become even more difficult, but there are ways to refine it, improve it, and boost your results. And we're going to cover the art of raiding in this episode. If you've noticed your raiding results diminishing, you're probably considering purchasing some new raiding locations. I prefer the smaller, more provincial cities like this one in Turkey called Bodrum. Now as I zoom in, you can see that there's still a number of players here. And as I go around checking, I can see whether they have Essence remaining or whether they have active mentors. And these are the criteria I need to determine whether they are good raiding spots or not. All of that info is displayed here in the right hand corner. Now I've already scouted this and I know that there is at least 10 here. That's my criteria for a good raiding target because a number of them will probably drop off. Now if I zoom in to the tile view here, I'm going to choose 10 tile property T2 and I'm going to put it right here in the water as opposed to on the land because I'm concerned with the radius that my Sidroids can hit, which is about 1 kilometer around it. So I'm going to position myself right in the middle. Then I'm scroll down and I'll buy that property. Now that we have our property, we'll look at setting it up. You have two options. You can either build your Sidroids with Essence, but it's going to take 24 hours. I prefer to just buy them off the marketplace and we can start them raiding immediately. So let's jump into the marketplace and we'll add some to this property. So I'll jump into Sidroids. You can choose the rarity, the type, the Sidroid name, whatever you like. I'm finding that rare is quite a good bargain at the moment. They're only a few cents more than common. And I'll select these two and just type in the address, Bodrum. And we can see that it comes up there. It's only going to show properties that have spaces for Sidroids. So I'll add them in there and then jump into the next one and do the same thing. So now we have two Sidroids ready to go immediately. But what we want to do to finish this is to add some civilians. So let's jump across into civilians and I'm going to choose level 5 civilians, especially for the raid commander. Up until that point, they'll raid at differing levels 1, 2, 3, or 4. Once you get beyond level 5, it's going to raid multiple targets. It's just going to keep going into your list no matter how many it is. Now, because we've got over 10 properties to raid, we definitely want that. It's also going to raid them quicker. So we'll jump into raid commanders and we'll have a look through the occupation level. I'll scan down to level 5 and we'll see what's available. I'm going to flip the view because I'm also concerned with the XP, the amount of experience points they have, and this will determine which one I choose here. As I scroll down, you can see they're all kind of around 26 or 28,000. This one's 31,000. So let's grab that one. Again, I'll just type in the name and we can add it straight in. So now I've got a raiding civilian or a raid commander on that property, and then we'll look at joining the same one. I want the same factions because I may want to raid abort later. And we'll jump into Ether Reckoner and Sidroid Technician. Now, you can do level 5s, level 6. It's only going up to level 7 at the moment, depending on your budget. Now that we have our Sidroids and civilians on the property, we can start to organize the target list. If you click on this little symbol and jump into the raid window, we'll scroll down. The first thing I'm going to do is disable these two Sidroids. I'll scroll a little further to find the icon list for the Raid Commander. You can see this little edit button here. If I click that and scroll down, I can choose whichever icon I like. I prefer the heart, and don't forget to press apply. Now I'll go into the list, and because the Sidroids are disabled, as I click on the property list, over here on the right hand side, you can see all the info displayed again. As I find properties that have Essence and a Mentor on them, I'm going to add them into the list, and we'll very quickly move down through this and start to find all the properties that have Essence remaining on them. So don't forget to save once you've done that, and then we'll scroll back up. So generally I'll do about 10, but I'm not going to show you all that. So I'll click one Sidroid back because I don't want to send two Sidroids at the same time to one property. Your Raid Commander is going to operate not from your favorites list, but from your recent list. You have to manually raid each property at least once for it to be in your list. So as I scroll down, I'm going to send it to the first one. We'll sort by favorites. I'll send it to the first one. Off to raid. Now as I scroll back up, I'll just press that raid button again, and it'll automatically drop in that second Sidroid, and I'll go to the second one down the list. Once you've done all of them, they're in your recent list, and then you can just let it go. It's going to be automatic. The Raid Commander is just going to keep hitting them in rotation. Duels boost the Sidroid's abilities in a number of ways. You can increase the ether dispensing rate, the speed of the Sidroid, the capacity or the range of the Sidroid, but here I'm going to focus on two in particular. We're going to add these into these specific Sidroids by jumping into the administration window. Then I'll add Bodrum in, and we can look straight away at those two Sidroids. Now here there's a little dual symbol, and you can see that it's empty or it's grayed out. If I click on that, it'll bring me into that specific Sidroid, and if I scroll down, there's a dual slotting tab here. As I click on it, it brings up my inventory here on the left hand side, and it's only going to show me duels that are relevant to boosting a Sidroid's abilities. This one is Serpentine. You can see what it does here. And if I click on it and just draw it down, I'll drop it in. Beneath that, it's going to tell you what it adds. So usually a Sidroid can only collect 3 ether at a time, but now I've added the Serpentine in, I've boosted it by an extra 76%, or it's going to collect possibly 5.29 ether. Now, if I also add in the Chrysocolla one, I'm only going to add this to one of them, and I'll explain why in a minute. We'll jump back out. Sidroid info will bring me to the second one, and you can see here that the 2 jewels have been added. I'll go to the second one and I'll scroll down. I'm just going to add a Serpentine to that. The results may vary a little. It's 2.22 this time, 73% or almost 74. So we're going to add those in, and that's it, done. So now as they go out, they have a greater capacity, but I've changed the ether dispensing rate on one of them, because as we start to send them out singly, if they come back and it's all automated, the Raid Commander, if they finish dispensing at the same time, will send them to a single property, and we don't want that. When we initially set up that Bodrum property, we split up the Sidroids and sent them to individual properties so we could work our way down through that list sequentially and get there quicker. But in reality, sending Sidroids out individually is far more effective in terms of collecting ether. Oftentimes when you send Sidroids out, 2 Sidroids to one property, you'll find that they come back but they're not full. So especially if they have boosted capacity, you want to send them out to individual properties. We want to divide and conquer. It's much more effective. You'll get much better results in terms of ether collection. But to manage this within automation, we had to change something. That's why I added the Chrysocolla Jewel. It means that the first one will dispense its ether quicker, then the Raid Commander will send it out, and then the other one will finish and it'll send it to another property. There's one final aspect to consider, and it's incredibly important, and that's refining your raiding. The raid commander will automatically send them out, but sometimes it's sending them to dud raids. They're coming back empty and it keeps sending them back, and there's a big waste of time. What we don't want is unsuccessful raids, but it will happen, especially as more and more players come back onto the platform. If you jump into your notifications tab, it will show you whether raids are successful or unsuccessful. We're looking for the unsuccessful ones. If I click into this one and then just click on the name of it, it'll bring me to the target, but it's also telling me which target failed. We can see here it's Charles Lee. So if I click on that, it'll bring me straight there. And if I scroll down, I'll look at the property info for that property, jump into the property page, then jump straight into raid, and that'll bring me direct to the property. If I click open the raid window, scroll down, find my favorites, and we'll see Charles Lee is there at the top. I'm going to click this until I get back to 0. I'll save it, and now he's removed from the recent list. I'll then go back into the original notification and I'll delete it. That's simple. That way you can keep polishing and refining. You don't want to waste time sending Sidroids out to dud raids. About a month ago, in anticipation of the token launch, I started adding properties to my portfolio for raiding. I've added over 100 properties up to this point, so let's take a look at how that has changed how much essence I collect on a daily basis. We can view all that information from the Overview tab on our profile page. If we click it and scroll down, we can see a graph that represents all the ether that you've raided and all the ether that your land has generated, as well as the amount of jewels you get on a daily basis. A month ago, I was earning 612 ether from raiding, and my land was generating 561. Add in all those extra properties, civilians and Sidroids, and today I'm earning 1100 or slightly over ether from raiding, and my ether generation hasn't finished yet, but we can see yesterday it was about 600. So we're talking about 1700 ether a day, or well over 110 essence per day. At the moment it's currently trading at 12 cents. If that jumps up to $1 or $2, that's going to be incredibly lucrative.